So we'd like to begin offering prana mantras to our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Together. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is a very nice topic for small children, even they're totally absorbed in drawing or scribbling or whatever they're doing over there. But it's okay. They're absorbed. That's what's good. But the topic is good for everybody because the topic is about Krishna. And the topic is a continuation of several things. The previous visit to Naperville, somehow we were on the topic of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. And so it's a continuation from where we left off. And some of the persons here, maybe not too many, but some of the persons here were with us in Gita Nagari during the Memorial Day weekend. There was a topic that was discussed, Krishna in Vrindavan. That was the theme. And the final class that I spoke was from Krishna dealing with the Aghasura demon. Aghasura demon pastime comes in chapter 12. So I'm going to do a little review because 12 comes before 13, comes before 14. So it'll help to understand 14 because all these events are the same day. One day in the life of Krishna in Vrindavan. And the age, Krishna at this time was 4 years, 4 months. Of course, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has a slightly different timetable. He says 5 years, but close, 4 years, 4 months. Several of our acharyas indicate that age. At the age of 4 years, 4 months, Krishna was a little precocious. He grew up faster than most little boys do. He was very attracted to taking care of the cows. And he asked his father, the king of the cowherd community, if he could take care of the cows. And his father said, no, they're too big. And you're so small. Can't take care of the cows. No. But Krishna was a little insistent, like children can be sometimes. And he agreed, okay, you can take care of the calves. And Krishna was very happy. 4 years, 4 months. Krishna and his cowherd boyfriends were taking care of calves every day. Like, no weekends off. Every day. And there was a pattern that was followed. And one of the patterns that was followed, on this particular day, the pattern was broken by Krishna's plan. He's playing the part of a human child, which is similar to Ramachandra, human-like, but not at all limited by humanness. So he asked, the pattern was that before going out there was this whole very detailed description of what Mother Yasoda did to get Krishna ready for taking care of the calves, including waking him up and giving him a bath and making sure he had nice clothing and nice ornaments and a big breakfast. And, she was a little much on the motherly side, making sure everything was, all the tilak was in the right place. And you know how mothers can be sometimes. So she was like that. And Krishna would say to his mother, "It's time to go now." And she wanted to put some extra samosa in his lunch bag and tie up his dhoti and make sure he had his flute and all those, motherly things. Because she's attached to Krishna. Nothing wrong with that. That's transcendental. So off he went every day, taking care of the calves. And we'll find out what taking care of the calves meant. On this particular day, Krishna had a change of plan. He requested his mother, and she didn't resist. He said, rather than having breakfast before going out, can you prepare breakfast, and I'll take breakfast in a lunch bag? So she agreed. No breakfast. And the second detail, very important detail, Balaram wasn't present, because Balaram was there every day. But this day he wasn't there. By Krishna's arrangement, he picked the right day. Because it's important that Balaram wasn't there, because he would have spoiled up the Leela. Because the Leela included dealing with Aghasura, and it would have been a problem to deal with Aghasura if if Balaram was present. So Balaram wasn't present. There's different explanations. One explanation given by one of the acharyas, it was Balaram's birthday. Another acharya said that his mother Rohini wanted Balaram to do certain rituals for creating auspiciousness. And a third explanation was there was some out-of-town relative, and Rohini wanted Balaram to be present and to receive that out-of-town relative. Whatever the reason was, Balaram wasn't there. And beautiful description. This is some of the highlights from chapter 12 now. Krishna, wasn't a toy, one of the instruments, or one of the facilities that Krishna had when he had a buffalo horn. So he blew his buffalo horn. Ooh, like we have conch shells, but he had a buffalo horn. Ooh, and all the cowherd boys knew what that meant. It's time to go. So they assembled, and then there's a detailed, lengthy, elaborate description of what they did. And what do 4-month-old boys do? They play. So the description of their playfulness, details and details and details and details and details and details and details. And in the midst of this chapter 12, there's a sudden interruption where Shukadeva Goswami is narrating this to Maharaj Parikshit, and he pauses and goes into trance. And when he struggles to come to external consciousness, he was deeply absorbed in meditation on the love, that the exchange of love between Krishna and the cowherd boys. Because when Krishna comes, we know from Bhagavad Gita there's 3 main purposes. Pritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya duskritam, dharma sangsthapanartaya. And aside from those purposes, worldly purposes, there's another purpose, and that is the stimulation of love, or the awakening of rasa with the different categories of Krishna's associates in Vrindavan. And this goes into a whole wonderful description of who Krishna is, according to Rig Veda. Krishna, the source of everything is rasa. Rasa vaisaha. So when he comes, he's stimulating love and giving the taste of rasa to his devotees. So in this, when he comes to external consciousness again and continues speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, he expresses how rare and how fortunate are these cowherd boys. The phrase that Prabhupada referred to just by, it's kind of like a sutra, but it says everything, because then he would expand it and then he would pack it back up again. And Krita Punya Punja. How many lifetimes of transcendental piety, not opening hospitals and giving in charity and feeding the poor, and that's also punya, but transcendental piety, lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. Who knows how many lifetimes? So then he, in that verse, I'm spending time with it because it's an important verse. He compares the cowherd boys to 6 other personalities. One of those personalities he compares them to is Gyanis who are tasting Brahma Sukh, the sukha or the happiness of Brahman realization. They may experience Brahma Sukh, but they can't play with Krishna. Then he goes through without going through the nice long list of other comparisons. There's nothing in comparison to the cowherd boys or the residents of Vrindavan. Of course, that's one particular rasa, the cowherd boy. We're not doing anything. We're just sitting here. He wants to come inside? You can read their mind. You can tell how the bark, what this bark means this and that bark means that. He's wagging his tail. Okay, so she's going to do something. Okay, she knows what to do. She knows dog language too. Okay. So that's in the middle of the playfulness, and the playfulness is important. So the play. You go after that trance and his glorification of the cowherd boy's good fortune. He goes on with the playful, and then something very interesting. This is chapter 12. Something very interesting happens. There's this giant. They don't know what it is. It looks like a playground in the midst of the forest because there's kind of like a path. They go every day. So there's a path in the middle of the forest. In the middle of the path, there's this giant serpent. And he's giant. When we were in Gita Nagari, one of the devotees has a PhD in math. And they said in their way back from Gita Nagari to New Jersey, they were counting how many Agasuras. Because he was 8 miles long. I asked, how many? They said something like 8 1/3. Just to get back to New Jersey from mid-Pennsylvania. So, 8 miles long, big, and his upper jaw touched the clouds, his lower jaw was on the ground, and his mouth was wide open. His plan was to kill Krishna and the cowherd boys. That was his plan. Something else happened. So the cowherd boys saw, hey, a playground. How thoughtful of somebody to make a playground for all of us. Let's go, because they're playful. Little boys are. And then as they got closer, they saw his eyes were moving. And then as they got closer, they smelled this bad fishy smell from his mouth. It's that all the dead bodies that he was digesting. And they said, uh-oh, this isn't a playground. This is a demon that wants to kill us. And some of the boys started to run, and some of the other boys said, no, 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 it's a playground. And they had a little dispute. And then finally they settled it. Look, even if it's a demon that wants to kill us, just chapter 11. A few days ago, Krishna killed Baka. So Krishna can deal with this guy, no problem. Let's go. So off they went. Now, it's important. Little detail about Baka. Baka was the older brother of the younger brother, whose name was Aga. Can you imagine mom and dad calling their son Baka and Aga? It's like Kara. In the Ramayana, mom and dad called him Kara. Anyway, that was his name, Aga. And Aga was in a vengeful mood. He wanted to get back. Kamsa sent him, because Kamsa from Putana was the first demon, and by the way, Putana was also the elder sister. So it's three: Putana, Baka, and Aga, and they're all from the same mother and father. And they were demons sent by Kamsa. Putana found out where Krishna was until she came.
Someone is at the front door.
Okay, someone's at the front door. So although Kamsa didn't know before Putana went where Krishna was, but now he knew where Krishna was, because Putana got killed by Krishna in Vrindavan. So that's where he is, in Vrindavan. So then he sent other demons, and one of the demons was Baka, and he came as a crane, humongous crane, that tried to swallow Krishna, and something else happened. He got killed by Krishna. So he wanted revenge. So Aga was sent by Krishna, go kill him. And he said, yeah, and I can get revenge too. So double motivation. Those of you that want to see the screen, we're trying to save some room for you that are way back on the balcony seats. You're welcome to come forward. You can sit way back there if you want, but you're welcome to come forward. Fantastic, thank you. There's room for some ladies in the front if you want. Make some room for her. Come. Scoot around a little bit so she can get through. Okay. You like it back there. Okay. Okay, fine. Fine. So Aghasura, it's a detail, but it's an important detail because it's all the same day. Krishna had a desire. The cowherd boy shouldn't enter the mouth of Aghasura demon because he's a demon, wants to kill him. And death personified, don't go. But he didn't say it. And generally Krishna doesn't have to say things because his own spiritual potencies take care of whatever he wants without us having to say it. Called Satya Sankalpa Shakti. Satya means truth. Sankalpa means intention. Satya Sankalpa Shakti. He just desires, and voila. That's a French word. Bhavati. It happens. Just boop. Because Krishna wants. So Krishna wanted the cowherd boys not enter, but they entered. And then there's a very wonderful discussion about how can something happen to go against Krishna's will. That means there's something above Krishna, right? No, that's not what it means. It means his Leela Shakti understood a desire that Krishna had. Now that gets into rasa. Here's a principle that I've been speaking about of late, especially with Krishna and Vrindavan. If there's some narrations that you're having trouble understand, step back, get out your rasa lens, and look at the situation through the rasa lens, and you can help understand it. Good chance. There's other lenses, but that's a good one to look through. So Krishna desired to experience not just his divinity. Krishna desired to experience compassion, which is a secondary rasa. So his primary rasa with the cowherd boys is friendship, sakya rasa, friendship. But to augment the sakya rasa was his wishing. He had a desire, an ichcha, desire, to experience compassion. And the compassion was, when the cowherd boys went into the mouth of Aghasura demon, he's worried about the cowherd boys. They won't be able to live without seeing him. And he knows that. And they won't be able to see him. He won't be able to see them. He's attached to them. They're attached to him. So they entered. And the reason given by our acharyas was Leela Shakti arranged it this way. There's Krishna's desire and there's the devotee's desire. Krishna yields to the devotee's desire. Simple. And Leela Shakti arranged the whole thing. And so it was very nice. They entered the Aghasura's mouth. But the Aghasura didn't close his mouth because he wanted to kill Krishna. He wanted Krishna to come. So Krishna's contemplating how to. He's omniscient. He doesn't need to scratch his head. But how to kill the demon and save the cowherd boys at the same time. And then he contemplated, and then he knew what to do, and he did what he did, and he entered the mouth of Aghasura. He expanded his body so big, even the python couldn't contain him. His life air was choked, and his soul left the body. And when the soul left the body, it's a nice description. It's important for what comes next with chapter 13. The soul, very similar to what happened with Shishupal, the soul rose in the air, and then when Krishna came out of the mouth of Aghasura, he merged into the body of Krishna. And everyone saw it. And they were up in the sky, there were demigods watching the pastimes, not like watching a movie. They were seeing Krishna performing his pastimes, including this most amazing demon wanted to kill him, and he gives him liberation. Wow. So Aghasura's dead. What's next? Common. Not always, but when some demon in Vrindavan is killed, it's time for lunch. Because they hadn't had breakfast yet. It was already late. So Krishna picked the spot near the river Jamuna, where the cows could graze on fresh grass and soft sands, and the scene, beautiful description of the scene of Vrindavan in the autumn season. And they started having lunch. So here's a nice illustration. The cowherd boys are having their lunch. And while they're having their lunch, this is the same day. That's the end of chapter 12. Now we're moving into chapter 13, which precedes chapter 14. So in chapter 13, Brahma saw all of this, and he started to ponder. He's a thoughtful, intelligent, super intelligent person. What is the extent of the potencies of this little boy. And for purposes of pastime, he became influenced by Maya, and not the good kind of Maya, but the Mahamaya kind. He had the nerve to decide he was going to kidnap the cowherd boys and calves just to see what Krishna would do. His power against Krishna's power. What's Krishna going to do? That's an offense. It's a no-no. You don't mess with Krishna's pastimes. You don't kidnap the cowherd boys. You don't challenge your power against Krishna's power. Those are 3 strikes. In baseball, you're out. But that's what he did. I'll get to chapter 14. But it's important to have the backdrop. So, Brahma kidnapped the cowherd boys and the calves and put them in a cave. And when he put them in the cave, he had his own powers. And with his own powers, he put them to sleep. There's some detail which I'm going to skip. It's nice detail, but I'll skip. So after he put them to sleep and went back to the scene of the crime to see what's Krishna going to do. Is Krishna going to cry? When he sees me, is he going to plead with me, please help me find the cowherd boys? But when he came back, much to his amazement, he saw Krishna with all the cowherd boys and the calves. What? I just put them in the cave. And as there's details we'll hear as in the course of this, the prayers that come in chapter 14. What he sees there's a recap of what he sees. But he sees the cowherd boys, and those are Krishna manifesting himself in exact likeness of the cowherd boys. Exact likeness. But there's Krishna. And in addition to showing each cowherd boy, then each cowherd boy simultaneously, there were forms of Vishnu. And each of the forms of Vishnu, there's details and details and details, but the 24 elements of creation, the Mahatattva, and time, and the Ashtasakhi, the Astasiddhis, and this and that, and there's a whole long list of all these Shaktis or potencies of Krishna personified. They weren't just a bolt of lightning or something. They were persons. So not just an energy, but personified. And what were they doing? They were offering prayers. That's what Krishna's potencies do. They want to be in service, and they're offering prayers. And so there's all these personalities surrounding all these Vishnu forms. And how many Vishnu forms were there? According to the commentary, asankhataha. That's how many cowherd boys there were. Too many to count. Some finite number, but too many. Many, 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 many. That many. And that many forms of Vishnu. That many of these different manifestations of potencies. And then the universe is surrounding each of those forms of Vishnu with all of this cacophony of prayers. And then, poof, Krishna withdrew them all within his little 4-month-old boy form. Looking at Brahma, and Brahma looking at him with his eyes getting really big. And he then offers his prayers to Krishna. That's chapter 14. The rest of chapter 13 is, there was a purpose. There's a nice description in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that when Krishna does one thing, he's accomplishing many things. So one of the many things that he was accomplishing was Krishna, wanted to satisfy the desires because Krishna does this. He wants to fulfill the desires of his devotees. So in Vrindavan, there were mothers, but not of him, mothers of his cowherd boyfriends. And they liked their boys, and they liked Krishna. They wanted to have Krishna as their son. So Krishna became their son. So at the end of the day, when the cowherd boys had finished herding the calves, they went back home and told mom and dad, guess what happened today? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And the mothers, imagine those of you that are mothers, you don't recognize this as your son. That's not going to happen. They didn't recognize, all of them didn't recognize, this isn't my son. And there's a lot of mothers, a lot of cowherd boys, because Vrindavan is a nice place. So for 1 year, Krishna lived as the son of each of these cowherd men and ladies. And this painting that you see on the screen here, this is one day in that year. The cows were grazing on the side of Govardhan Hill. And that's you see they're coming down the side of Govardhan Hill. And the cows were up on the hill when they saw the calves, who were Krishna, their calf was Krishna. Moo! They started running down the hill. And the cowherd men, they were herding the cows up on the side of Govardhan Hill. They saw the cows running down the hill. So they raised their cow herding sticks and said, stop, however you say that in local language. But they didn't stop. And they ran. Sometimes cows run. It's funny to watch. They ran down the hill. And as they ran down the hill, they just wanted to be with their calves. And when the cowherd men got to the bottom of the hill, they saw their boys. And they forgot their anger, and they just embraced their boys and completely forgot everything about what had happened. But Balaram was watching, and Balaram started to admire what affection do these cowherd men have for their sons. Whoops, went the wrong direction. So all of this is a detail, but it is part of the teachings of the Bhagavatam. And one of the teachings of the Bhagavatam is time is relative. Einstein said it, but the Vedas said it before Einstein said it. Relativity of time. And which means the time that it took for Lord Brahma to put the boys in the cave and come back to see what's Krishna going to do, it was just a moment. But in his time, that was just a moment. 1 year passed on earth. Relative time, right? Just the other day I heard Prabhupada describing this. So, microbes, how long, what's their lifetime? So a few days, maybe 24 hours, whatever the duration is. And then it's over. And then the human, let's say they may live 100 years, max. So in the day in the month of a human, there's the waxing and the waning of the moon. That equals 1 month. So from Purnima to Purnima. So from Purnima to the new moon, the waning, that's night for the demigods. Now we're going up to Swarga. That's 1 night. And then the waxing, that's 1 day. 15 plus 15 is 30 days. Our 30 days is their 1 day. Relative time. Now go up to Brahmaloka, 1 moment is 1 year. That's the explanation. So in 1 year's time, it gave Krishna the opportunity to fulfill the desires of the cowherd men and ladies and the cows, because Krishna became their calf. Vrindavan is a special place. So while all this is going on, their boys are having lunch. Back to the incidents. He's looking over, and the calves and cowherd boys are kidnapped. He sees all this manifestation, and now we're ready for chapter 14. That was the end of chapter 13. He's, wow. Because he shows everything, and then everything disappears. So that's the end of chapter 13, and now we're going to be discussing chapter 14. And because I did all this background to lead up to chapter 14, this is the section that we're going to be discussing for 2 days. The first 3 verses is this evening, and then the final 5 verses, making 8, is tomorrow. So I hope you can be here tomorrow, because it follows from today. But it's nice verses. Then the whole, if Krishna permits, we'll cover the whole 40 verses. So there, you'll see as we go along, there's a mood change or a topic change. Brahma's expressions of humility, Brahma's description of the inconceivable or achintya shakti of Krishna, the contrast between knowledge and ignorance, the glories of the gopis, that's a very nice section, and the glories of Krishna. Okay, so here we go. Canto 10, chapter 14, text 1 through 3. It says first half, but I'm only going to do the first 3. Brahma directly realized that Nanda Nandana is the source of all forms of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Now that teaching comes early in Canto 1, chapter 3. Canto 1, chapter 3. Krishna is the source of all avatars. Brahma is seeing it, experiencing it, and he's going to say it, what he's experienced. Having attained firm devotion at the lotus feet of Krishna, Brahma profusely praises the Lord. And the very first verse, we're going to go through it 3 times because it's so nice. It's a meditation on Krishna's form. And if to taste rasa, to taste the sweetness of Krishna's form, these verses provide that revelation or realization of Krishna's sweetness. My dear Lord, here's the verse. You are the only worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. And he describes the details of Krishna's beauty. Oh, son of the king of the cowherds, your transcendental body is dark blue like a new cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning. The beauty of your face is enchanted, enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands, plural, of various forest flowers and leaves, equipped with a herding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute, you stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand. Now, the morsel of food in his hand has to do with the situation of when they were having their lunch, the cowherd boys. This is that same morning. They were having lunch. And the calves started wandering because they wanted fresh grass. And the boys were so immersed in being with one another, they lost track of the calves. When somebody recognized the calves were missing, they started, the calves are missing. So Krishna said, don't worry. I'll find the calves. You stay here. Finish lunch. And when he left, he had in his left hand, because he eats with his right hand, he had a lump of yogurt and some rice. So he still has a lump of yogurt and rice in his hand, in his left hand. Because poof, everybody, all those manifestations of the forms of Vishnu disappeared, and he has a morsel of food in his hand. Now we have commentators helping us to relish the topic, the sweetness of the topic especially. Oh, most worthy of worship, Idye, you are worthy of praise because today I have seen the whole material and spiritual realms enter into and emerge from you, the Supreme Brahman, composed of power and sweetness. Now that's Brahma. The Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are especially sweet. That's Madhurya. But Brahma doesn't just understand the sweetness, he understands the majesty or the Aishvarya. So he Brahma, is getting an exposure to the sweetness, but his focus largely has been, up to this point at least, on the Aishvarya, the opulences of Krishna. With heart attracted to Krishna's childhood pastimes, Brahma points out more particular items. So we heard those particular items, now we're going to hear more of those particular items, compliments of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And this is really, I really like it. I hope I can do justice to what he's sharing. Invitation to enter the deeper meaning of Brahma's words describing Krishna's beautiful form. The earth gets relief from the scorching heat of summer, because it's autumn season, after the rainy season, after the summer season, the rainy season, through the cloud of Krishna's rain. So summer is real hot, but then comes the rainy season, and rain clouds are dark. So that's the comparison. Krishna is the color of the dark rain cloud. Similarly, like the Chataka bird, devotees sustain their lives with the mercy pouring from the rain cloud of Krishna. Now I know a few devotees that are really into nature, like really into nature. Prabhupada was certainly to some degree, and something I learned from hearing him over and over, that this Chataka bird only drinks water that comes from the sky. I've never met a Chataka bird, but that's what he says. So many birds, I've seen birds, they have bird baths, and they have birds that go into the edge of a lake or a pond or something, and they do their thing, they take their bath, they drink some water, and then fly away. Chataka birds won't do that. Only they're looking up to the sky, and water that falls from the sky, that's their sustenance. And without water, you die. So their life is the water that comes from the clouds in the sky. Similarly, the comparison is the devotees are like the Chataka birds. Their lives are resting upon the mercy pouring from the rain cloud of Krishna, the dark rain cloud of Krishna. Poetry. Now, when I first read this, just went, I didn't catch it, but Vishwanath caught it. He's a Rasika Bhakta. He's so wonderful. Then further, he has earrings. Krishna's Gunja berry earrings, forest flower garlands, not just forest flowers, but flowers and leaves, and peacock feather. Vishwanath writes, lowly Gunja berries of Braja are superior to the precious jewels of Vaikuntha. Now, heaven, not just heaven, but Vaikuntha. And in Vrindavan, gunja berries are abundant. Something, I don't know, there's probably something comparable here in the Illinois area during certain seasons of the year. In the place where I was staying in Virginia, just outside the window, there's this, I think it's gooseberries, this tree that has these red berries, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And in Vrindavan, gunja berries are also abundant, during certain times of the year. So it's not a big deal. They're abundant. But because they're attractive to Krishna, they're more valuable and precious than the jewels of Vaikuntha. Here's a detail I like. Maybe some of you already know. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved Krishna. He was in the mood of Radha, feeling love and separation from Krishna, because his mother asked him to go to Puri. And so he was in Puri in the mood of separation from Krishna in Vrindavan. So one sannyasi visited Vrindavan and came back to Puri and gave him a gift. And the gift was two: a Govardhan Shila and a string of gunja berries, which are abundant in Vrindavan, like all over the place. For 1 year, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worshipped in a very extraordinary way. He didn't do the worship of a Shila like we worship a deity. He pressed the deity to his heart. He pressed the deity to his eyes. He rubbed the deity, this Govardhan Shila, with his thumb. It made an impression in the thumb, in the Shila. His thumbprint is in the Shila. He just rubbed it so intensely. And after 1 year, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made a gift to Raghunath Das Goswami. And he gave him the Govardhan Shila that he personally worshipped with love, and the gunja berries. And Raghunath Das put 2 and 2 together and came up with 4. He said he understood Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving me eternal residence in Vrindavan at Govardhan Hill. That was his understanding. And the gunja berries is the mercy of Srimati Radharani. These are his 2 gifts. And so after Mahaprabhu left this world, Raghunath Das left for Vrindavan to go stay at Govardhan Hill. But he was in such mood of separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he decided, after paying obeisances to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami and visiting holy places in Vrindavan, he'd go to Govardhan Hill, jump off Govardhan Hill, and give up his life. He couldn't bear the separation. And his mood was so heavy. When he met Rupa Goswami immediately understood and forbid him to give up his life. You have been with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 16 years, non-stop. And we've been in Vrindavan in separation, and you know all the details of his loving relationship with Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, and you were under the care of Swarup Damodar. You know all the inner emotions. You know all the pastimes. Here's your service. Every day for the rest of your life. 3 to 4 hours every day. Sit under this tree at Radhakund and you narrate Gaur Leela, which he did. And the person who heard him narrate Gaur Leela was Krishnadas Kaviraj, who then wrote his biography under the order of all the Vaishnavas to do that. So, gunja berries. They're very common. But the mercy of Radharani, more precious, than the precious stones of Vaikuntha. And the forest garlands of wild flowers and leaves around Krishna's neck is superior to those made of the parijata flowers from Swargaloka. Now, many of you know the parijata flower story. Parijata flower story. Krishna he visited the heavenly realm, and he brought back a parijata flower and gave the parijata flower to Rukmini. Satyabhama found out. Then she requested, I want a tree, not just a flower. So Krishna got a tree, parijata tree. They were very special. There was a battle with Indra and the whole thing. Very, very special parijata flowers. But the parijata flowers from Swarga, nothing in comparison to the wild flowers and leaves around Krishna's neck. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur helping us understand. Krishna had some implements. 3 things mentioned. Cowherd stick, buffalo horn, and yogurt with rice in his hand. The morsel of yogurt, rice, in Krishna's hand, his stick and horn indicate the superiority of Krishna's cowherd boy form over all the others. His special, just like Krishna's flute or peacock feather. Mentioned is Krishna's soft feet, mridu pate. Those wandering in the forest of Vrindavan became filled with ecstasy upon seeing Krishna's footprints. Now, the land of Vrindavan has, in many places, is soft. Sometimes it's described as like soft sand. Now, maybe some persons have visited Vrindavan or had somebody visit Vrindavan. They bring back a little vial, that dust from Vrindavan. You've had? Yeah. I regularly get it. Anyway. So the sand is soft, and Krishna's footprints are going to be in the sand. This, what's the big deal? But it's a big deal. It's such a big deal that those who see something every day, its significance diminishes, like familiarity breeds contempt. It's like not a big deal. But for the cowherd boys, or the residents of Vrindavan, seeing Krishna's feet is a big deal. For a Krura who saw Krishna's footprints just once, not every day, he became filled with ecstasy. A little explanation, because it adds to the flavor. Who is a Krura? A Krura is a member of the royal dynasty, and when Kamsa usurped the kingdom from his father, put his father in jail and usurped the kingdom, Akrura was part of the royal family, the dynasty. But he wasn't a Kshatriya type, he was a minister type of personality. So as a minister type, when Kamsa, tried again and tried again and tried again and tried so many times to kill Krishna, nothing worked, he decided, he asked his ministers, and the ministers said, you kill Krishna. You're the most powerful guy in the world. So he thought it was a good idea. I'll kill Krishna. So his idea was to bring Krishna to Mathura. And when he brought Krishna to Mathura, there was 3 ways he was going to try to kill Krishna, but he would kill Krishna. And he disclosed the plan to Akrura, because Akrura is a minister, and Akruraji, yes, some service. What's that? Bring Krishna to Mathura. I want to kill him. And this is my plan. I'm going to this, and this. I'll kill him. This, and this. So Akrura is a pure devotee. Now, what's a pure devotee serving Kamsa for anyways? Because ultimately, the misfortune becomes fortune, and Krishna became and ruled with the royal family in Mathura after some time. So he stayed in service, and he agreed immediately because he knew Krishna's plan. Krishna's going to kill Kamsa, not Kamsa's going to... You can't kill Krishna. You can't kill Krishna. Can't kill Krishna. So he agreed. He got this royal chariot, like, Rolls Royce, to go all the way from Mathura to Vrindavan. And picture in your mind, because it's a very nice description, he's in this chariot anticipating he's going to meet Krishna face to face. Supposing you knew at the end of the day you're going to meet Krishna face to face. You knew it. How would you feel? That was his feelings. He was absorbed. I'm going to meet Krishna today face to face. And absorbed like that and meditating on Krishna and meeting Krishna. And he sees over the side of the chariot footprints, Krishna's footprints in the sand. He jumped from the chariot, rolls on the ground, laughing, hysterical, and offering prayers, beautiful, beautiful prayers. Kamsa's, Akura's prayers to Krishna and his lotus feet in the sand. And that's one time. And then the residents of Vrindavan, as the verse is saying, they're seeing Krishna's footprints in the sand every day. And they were filled with ecstasy just seeing his footprints in the sand. By stating that Krishna is the son of a cow herder, Pashupa Anga Jaya, Brahma shows the superior fortune of Nanda over Vasudeva. Now, I didn't pick up on that, but that's what Brahma is saying. That's what Vishwanath is indicating indirectly or poetically. And isn't it true? Although Vasudeva and Devaki were mother and father, they didn't have childhood pastimes with Krishna. Because that very night that he was born, he was gone. Nanda took him to the other side of River Jamuna, placed him with Nanda and Yashoda, and all the childhood pastimes. And then here's one of those childhood pastimes. Very sweet pastime. The way it's described is also very nice. Mother Jasoda suggested, can you bring your father's shoes? So Gopal looks at his mother, looks at the shoes, points to the shoes. She nods, yes, his shoes. He smiles, puts the shoes on his head, and toddles over to his father and with the shoes on his head, and hands his shoes to Nanda Maharaj. Now, what is Nanda Maharaj feeling? What is Yasoda feeling? What is Krishna doing? He's stimulating their parental affection. And the parental affection that they're experiencing far surpasses the fortune of them, far superior to the fortune of Vasudeva and Devaki, although they were the mother and father. And this is all just the first verse. Brahma, immersed in great ocean of Krishna's sweetness mixed with respect, in the ocean of devotion and knowledge, praises Krishna with affection and asks questions. So compliments to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur for taking a very simple verse and making it so nice. This is also his commentary. So Krishna is hearing this praise, and Krishna may say, listen, Brahma, you're the master of all powers in this universe, while I am but the son of a cowherd man in the forest. You are an ancient and exalted personality, and I'm a small boy. You are knowledgeable of all the Vedas, but I'm an ignorant keeper of cows, so unaware of proper conduct that I'm running around with yogurt and rice in my hand. I'm not qualified for your praise. And in response, My dear Lord, neither I nor anyone else can estimate the potency of this transcendental body of yours, which has shown such mercy to me, and which appears just to fulfill the desires of your pure devotees, which is what Krishna does. With Brahma, with Kamsa, with everyone. With the cowherd boys, with the ladies, with the cows, the calves. This is a BBT painting. Just a little detail. When Srila Prabhupada first, it was a bit of a surprise for us in ISKCON, because Prabhupada was regularly issuing caution about possible misunderstanding of Krishna's pastime, particularly Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. We'd be like, okay, stay away from that pastime because we might misunderstand it. And then we didn't even know he was doing this, but Krishna book came out, including the chapters of the Krishna's pastimes with dancing with the gopis. So the artwork was rather rudimentary, meaning the artists that were doing the artwork had no prior skill before they just started taking up the service of being artists. Some of them never had a paintbrush in their hand. Those like our little children. At least they're doing coloring books. But these devotees didn't have the coloring book. Prabhupada wanted them to paint, and so they painted. Some of them asked, should we take art classes? He said, no. You paint Brahma has designed this body in such a way. You do something in service to Krishna, and Krishna will give you the ability. Just paint with devotion. So that's what they did. But it was a little rudimentary. And so after some time, the English Krishna book was translated into Dutch and German and French and so many other European languages. So the European BBT decided they were going to do new artwork for Krishna book. And this was one of their artworks. Look how big Brahma is and how little Krishna is. It's a little different than the other painting. And here's a B.G. Sharma painting. Although my mind is completely withdrawn from material affairs, I cannot understand your personal form. We'll say it other way. By absorption in material affairs, it blocks one's ability to understand Krishna's personal form. Although my mind is completely withdrawn from material affairs, I cannot understand your personal form. How then could I possibly understand the happiness you experience within yourself? Commentary. Brahman does not state in this verse that Brahman is incomprehensible in its impersonal feature, for he explains instead, Krishna with his personal features is more difficult to understand than Brahman. It doesn't say it, that's the implication. Though you manifested many forms, you're only one form. Now this is a philosophy. This is Bhagavad philosophy, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, because they're the same philosophy. Simultaneous oneness and difference. So many, many, many forms, but one form. Sanatana Goswami's comment, that form showed me mercy because you protect my creation by destroying adharma and propagating dharma. So here's the BBT painting more current. Here is the BBT painting more ancient. This is meant to show the same pastime. And there's Brahma with his gaping mouth seeing this whole scene. No one can understand the greatness of your cowherd boy form, superior to your form as the Lord of Vaikuntha. Your form is beyond material qualities. Because of this, it cannot be understood by the inner mind, what to speak of direct perception. And the last verse. And this is a special verse. Many of you know the verse. We'll recite the verse together. I think we'll do it twice because it's so important. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam vivatiyavartam stanestattakshuktigatam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jita jito pyasi traistilokyam. Now, notice it's color-coded, because each of these phrases, with different colors, we're going to go through them. There's 5 of them. That's one more time. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiyavartam stanestattakshutigatam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jita jito pyasi traistilokyam. Translation. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, stanestattak, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, jnane prayasa, udapasya, and with their body, words, and mind, tanuvan manobhir, offer their respects, namanta eva, to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although otherwise you are unconquerable by anyone. Ajita becomes jitta. That is same as with the cowherd boys. Krishna subordinated his will to the will of the cowherd boys. So you can say that's conquering, but it's love. Love conquers. Jnane prayasa, udapasya. Udapasya. Stop speculations. Udapasya, not even a slight endeavor. Udapasya. One should not even slightly endeavor to understand the absolute truth by the process of mental speculation. Jnane prayasa udapasya. Why? It invariably carries one to an imperfect, impersonal understanding of God. So if you're not supposed to do that, what are you supposed to do? Namanta, offering obeisances unto Jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiyavartam, a devotee who always hears about Lord Krishna will go back home, back to Godhead, even if he can do nothing except maintain his existence, Jivanti, and hear topics concerning the Lord. So very special. The hearing process is emphasized from the very beginning. Now here we are in the 10th canto, chapter 14. The hearing process is again given special priority. Just like Shukadeva, Prahlad Maharaj, while still within the womb, he didn't have the faculties of a mature person because he's still within the womb. But by hearing from Narada, he became self-realized. Or any other, so many other examples. Supposing you know somebody that's it happens, they're departing this world. Give them the opportunity to hear transcendental sound vibration of one kind or another. In the case of Maharaj Parikshit, because he's the one that was hearing from Shukadev, 7 days, and he went back to Godhead. Now, in some cases, supposing somebody is deaf, there are circumstances they just can't hear. Some people can hear, but they sing, and they're tone deaf. And my experience, this is a joke, so those that are tone deaf, they sing loud. That was a joke. But it happens. But if someone hears that transcendental vibration, even the thing on the side of the ear and the nervous system that sends signals to the brain and so forth isn't operating, the spiritual sound is acting anyways. Or supposing somebody is born in some unfortunate condition. I know somebody somewhere, won't go into it, but they have 2 daughters. One daughter is brilliant young lady, and the other daughter was born with some disease. I don't know what the name of the disease, but they're incapable, totally. They're in a wheelchair. They can't speak. They can hear, but they can't speak words, and they make sounds. But the parents, so they're not going to get to the point where their daughter, who's now grown-up teenager with a big body, is going to go beyond being whatever the right way of describing, an incapable person in a human body, but incapable. But so they know what to do. I mean, besides the physical maintenance of the body and their necessities, is hearing, because it acts. Whatever is the cause of that unfortunate body form, spiritually, it's not limited, because sound acts. So, if they can do nothing except maintain his existence and hear a topic concerning the Lord, a devotee who was always hearing will go back home, back to Godhead. Pretty amazing. Stane statak. This stane statak. This is an essential message. One doesn't need to change position, social position. For example, to be a follower of Shankaracharya, he wouldn't accept students unless they were sannyasis. And to be a sannyasi, you had to be born in a Brahmin family, and take sannyas, and then you can be Shankaracharya's student. And otherwise, good luck. He personally didn't give instruction, but that's not the verse here. This is an important verse for devotees. We'll hear in a moment. Stane statak. Stay in your position. Shruti gatam tanavan manobir. Even if the devotee stays in their social position, they can conquer Krishna through their body, touching the lotus feet of the Lord. Words, call him to come with their words. Mind, thinking about him. Shruti gatam, taking shelter. Shruti gatam, taking shelter of hearing the topics of his name, form, pastimes, and qualities. These are all very nicely contained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, or that touch the Bhagavatam itself, or touch the lotus feet of the deity. Just yesterday there was a deity installation in a young couple's home, the deity of Lakshmi Nrsimha. Part of the installation ceremony is touching the feet of the deity with sandalwood and It's oil and this and that. So it's very special. Very special facility for human form of life. And the Lord manifesting as the deity. But the Lord can also manifest through the sound vibration of disciplic succession. That's the image on the right. Touching the feet of. Words. Call him with her words. Yay! Prayaso jita jito pyasi traiste lokyam. Ajita, he's unconquered. By one's physical abilities, mental power, verbal expertise, or any other material faculty, he can't be conquered, but he can be conquered. Ajita becomes Jitta by pure devotees. Tanuvan Manobir. Here's the reverse description, and we're done. This is a very nice painting. Lord Krishna's body is conquered because he always remains by the side of his pure devotees. This is Balaram. And he wants to speak something to Krishna, but Mother Yasoda's telling him, shh, he's asleep. But Balaram can't help himself. He's touching Krishna's ankle. Shh, don't wake him. So just by the touch of his devotee, Lord Krishna's words are conquered because he always chants the glories of his devotees. So the devotees chant his glories, and he chants the glories of devotees. This is Krishna speaking to Uddhava in Dwarka. And Krishna is speaking about the gopis, his devotees, to Uddhava, giving gopi lessons to Uddhava, because he loves the gopis. And Uddhava is capable to understand, and so Krishna is glorifying his devotees with his words. And his mind is always thinking about his loving devotees. And here's our last slide for this evening. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu having a discussion with Ramananda Roy. Now, who's Ramananda Roy? Ramananda Roy is a great devotee who lived during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was met some years before by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is the chief priest of the king of Puri. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is like super scholar. He, as a grahastha, had thousands of sannyas disciples because he was a super scholar. And when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we'll see this later, we will need further prayers, but by hearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describe Vedanta Sutra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya understood, I've never heard this kind of explanation before. You're not just a sannyasi. You're the personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya smiled and showed his form of Radha Krishna in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He showed his form of Radha Krishna, or his six-armed form in Chaitanya Bhagavat. He showed his spiritual form. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya fainted. And then when he came to external consciousness, he offered wonderful prayers. When Mahaprabhu was going to travel to South India, looking for his elder brother who had taken sannyas when he was a young boy, Sarvabhauma said, be sure when you travel, 2 years you're going to be gone, meet Ramananda Roy. He's a governor. But he's not just a governor. He's a pure devotee like you. You'll enjoy his company. Please make some arrangement to see him when you travel. So they did. In the background, that's the river Kaveri. He was the governor of, at least during this particular time, it was Madras, now Chennai, governor of a whole big area under the king. But super learned. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him in a solitary place, It was a role reversal. Lord Chaitanya was asking, this is the starting of their conversation, what's the goal of life and the means to achieve it? That's a nice place to have a discussion. Goal of life and the means to achieve it. So Ramananda Roy was super scholarly. He offered 6 different verses from the scripture, including Sarvadharmam Parijajamami Kamshara. Mahaprabhu said, go further, go further, go further. And finally, when Ramananda Roy spoke this verse, 10.14.3, Mahaprabhu said, yes, that's the goal of life and the means to achieve it. That's why we spent some time. And I have a request, and I'm going to end. The request is, between now and tomorrow evening, try to learn the verse and meditate on the meaning of these different parts of the verse. And if someone is able to do that, I'm going to invite for some volunteers tomorrow. Let's see what happens. And if somebody can, it's such an important verse. The goal of life and the means to achieve it means it's an important verse. So try to meditate on this important verse. First verse, the form of Krishna, and then the third verse. Very nice meditation. And the prayers of Brahma are filled with such nice verses you'll see as we go along. And it's 8 o'clock. So let's see if there's some discussion. Nice assembly. A lot of persons have come. I hope it's been meaningful. Yes. Rama Raghava? He knows how to make buttons work.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is about Lord Krishna carrying Nanda Maharaj shoes, the slide which you shows.
Yeah.
Swami Vedanta Desikan glorified the shoes of Ranganatha as Paduka Sahasram, and here the same Supreme Lord is carrying the shoes of his father on his head. Can you please help me to understand a little bit on that?
It's rasa.
Mm-hmm.
That which is glorified by so many prayers is the son is carrying the shoes of his father on his head. It's rasa. No, we could glorify the shoes of Krishna, but even more superlatively greater is this loving pastime of Krishna carrying the shoes of his father on his head. It's rasa, all the way. Need we say more? The Vedanta Deshika verses glorifying the shoes of Ranganatha, fantastic. The celebrated verses, loved, recited again and again, very scholarly, very meticulously composed, very filled with love for the Lord. And we're glorifying his shoes because his shoes were glorifying him. Rasa. That's Braja Prema. It's filled with like these other, the first verse, filled with these nice descriptions of something that's so simple, but so sweet. And who is eligible to enter into that sweetness? Those that are hearing from those that are experiencing that sweetness, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, Brahma isn't, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is more elevated than Brahma in one sense, because he's just filled with rasa. He understands Krishna's greatness as Brahma understands Krishna's greatness, but he's so filled with rasa, it just spills all over the place.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Something else? Yes, over here, a couple things.
Yes. A question and a comment, Guru Maharaj. Lord Brahma points out the superior fortune of Nanda Maharaj in comparison to Vasudeva.
Mm.
So is this specifically because this Leela happens during the childhood pastimes?
Yes.
Because in the long run, Vasudeva had more associates.
Yes, he certainly did. But Vasudeva didn't experience that sweetness that Nanda did. So, Aishvarya and Madhurya, who wins? You know, the greater weight is the sweetness.
Okay.
And Krishna also displayed Aishvarya, but because of the love within Nanda and all the residents of Braja, they couldn't see it, etc. Looking inside Krishna's mouth and seeing the universe, etc., etc. He showed his Aishvarya, but the sweetness was too strong. They couldn't fathom it. Something further? Yeah.
The Bhagavatam is replete with examples where devotees make mistakes. So this particular
Yes.
pastime,
Yes.
which we're going to hear over so many days, is about this imperfect action on the part of Lord Brahma, and then how he addresses himself, how he restores the relationship and repairs it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Akrura, the same in the case of Akrura, Parikshit Maharaj. So it seems like this is a repeated theme where we see these devotees acting imperfectly. And I'm taking it as, this is something that endears the Bhagavatam to people like us, who our capacity is very little and these ideals are so high and the qualities that we're striving for are so out there, such a big gap, that often what is left for us to do is the repair work. We don't get it right in the moment. And we see there is such a quality of tenderness when Krishna addresses these devotees that have acted so imperfectly. The orientation of the heart is so soft. Whereas often in our world, when we or others are acting imperfectly, there's this tendency, it's addressed in a very different way. So I was just wondering if you would have any comments on.
And you said it so nicely. It's hard to, there's not, I just can hang some decorations on what you said, because it's what you said is very nice. In part, not in whole, but in part, what Brahma did and how he appeals to Krishna's forgiveness. That's what we're going to hear tomorrow evening. Brahma is filled with remorse and humility, and he's also filled with appealing for Krishna's mercy. And why? Because by nature Krishna is merciful. And he's taking responsibility for his misconduct, but he's explaining the misconduct was due to foolishness, not due to maliciousness, and he's appealing to the forgiveness of his father, or he's calling him his father. So, how, the sweetness of that exchange is instructive to us how to, as you say, do repair work. And it's not just, last year or some time ago, it's lifetimes and lifetimes of messing. And what's the hope? And the hope is the merciful nature of Krishna. I think tomorrow I'll begin with the very nice verse spoken or written in Padyavali by Rupa Goswami, where he describes specifically the merciful nature of Krishna, that he delivers and gives his kindness to all living entities, including Aghasura, and gives him liberation. But as for me, I don't, what's my hope other than this mercy that I see splashing here and there, and if a few drops may fall on me, and I may also. So it's the mood of humility, eagerness for mercy, and not just relying on the course correction of Krishna is going to fix it, but our sincere desire to get it right instead of mess. The desire to serve in a pleasing way. That's the course correction. And it's the lesson is a lesson to be learned from this pastime and these other examples that you gave. Krishna is kind. He's not only the father of Brahma, he's the father of all living entities. It's ultimately our Aham Bija Pratak. So he's a seed-giving father of all living entities. And we're relying upon his mercy. Because if he's not merciful, how long can we rot in the material world and continue making more mistakes? There's hope. The merciful nature of Krishna and desire to please him. That's the hope. Back? Yes. You got to press the magic button on the side there.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My question is, how you said Lord Brahma's, our 1 year is like a moment for Lord Brahma. But when this Leela happened, he was on the, this earthly planet.
Yes.
Right? So that means he stayed here for the whole year?
No.
No. Okay.
When he came back, that was the moment. And during that period of time, now exactly how did the time this is an interesting question. And, how does the kaleidoscope move when you turn it? The picture changes. So, I would have a little difficulty dissecting for our little binary processor, this mind, to say, how did it work? Oops. But a whole year passed. In that moment, because when he came, what happens? There's more that comes up, but in chapter 13, when the cowherd boys are sitting having lunch with Krishna, after that moment, how many moments passed until the actual cowherd boys came back. It's the only way I can say it is Krishna can not only time is relative, but Krishna can expand and contract time and space, no problem. So when the cowherd boys that were concealed by Yogamaya, that's another detail, they didn't feel that Krishna was apart from them for that whole year. Rather, the next moment they were with Krishna again having lunch. And he still had the same lump of yogurt in his hand. They didn't remember amnesia. So now your question isn't the amnesia part. Your question is, what was Brahma up to for that 1 year? He went back to Brahmaloka, and 1 year passed here. So exactly, Krishna can expand and contract time, no problem, and space, no problem. No problem. Gangadharayan in the back. Yes, I see.
So, Guru Maharaj, my question is related to this rasa. So, we understand that, we follow the Brahma Gaudiya Parampara.
Yes.
But in our experience from Srimad Bhagavatam and from what at least I've heard, I haven't seen Lord Brahma express any rasa in his interaction with the Supreme Lord other than Aishwarya. However, in our sampradaya, that madhurya rasa, especially, our object of devotion in terms of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as, the love of Radharani for Krishna, like that is
A gift. There's a gift.
that is central and is what our parampara's rasa is.
Yes, that's right.
So how come
How come?
we derive from the same lineage, but then we have this rasa that is a little bit...
No problem. The no problem answer is Krishna made it manifest in the heart and the life of one prior acharya, two prior acharyas before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Madhavendra Puri, introduced it. And how did he introduce it? Was it a deviation? No, it was an inspiration. And he was a qualified recipient of that inspiration, and he magnified it. He manifested it and magnified it, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exploded it. So the seed, in one sense, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't need it. He can be the inspiration, but he received it, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, then he expanded it. So the question you're asking is an important question, because there are 4 sampradayas, not 5. And in our sampradaya, which is the Madhva sampradaya, there isn't this emphasis. There's details. Here's a little detail. Of the 4 sampradayas, the only one of the 4 that introduced Srimad Bhagavatam as an authentic pramana was Madhvacharya. And he made some number, so I forget what the number is, 70 verses or something like that, where he made comments on Srimad Bhagavatam. But the other sampradaya acharyas didn't. And then in his disciplic line, one of his disciples expanded on his commentaries in Mahabharata commentaries, and also Srimad Bhagavatam commentaries. So it's in the line, introduced from Madhvacharya, but just a touch. And then magnified significantly Madhavendra Puri, and then magnified explosively by Mahaprabhu. So that's the hallmark of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the emphasis on Srimad Bhagavatam, the emphasis on rasa within Srimad Bhagavatam, the emphasis on the rasa within his teachings, which are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the trace of the origin has to do with the cyclic succession, but Srimad Bhagavatam being the ripened fruit of, and from Madhvacharya himself. Then the little seed, and the little seed grew, and little seed grew. It wasn't a deviation, it was a revelation. Someone else had their hand up. So you got the microphone, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I wanted to ask, Krishna has blessed us with Vaishnava Association, access to Srila Prabhupada's book and the holy name, but still due to false ego, we take it very lightly. So I wanted to ask, how can we overcome this ego and truly realize the mercy that we have received?
Piece of cake. One of the places, there's many places, an elaborate description is in Bhakti Sandarbha. The short is bhakti can dissolve that attachment to false ego. A philosophical foundation that's within Bhakti Sandarbha is derived from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Kapila Dev instructs Devahuti. There's a whole chapter of pure devotional service. the whole chapter of pure devotional service. And he describes how, after describing the whole Sankhya system and how the universe unfolds, the first element is false ego, the covering the living entity. And that false ego and the subtle body, false ego and the subtle body are dissolved. That's the translation of the Prabhupada gives, dissolved. It doesn't stop existing, it's just dissolved. No longer impacting it conditions the conditioned soul. It no longer conditions the conditioned soul because it dissolves. And in place of that dissolved false ego is the true ego. So it is awakening of who we really are. In Prabhupada's language, it makes it very simple. But you're asking a philosophical question. The simple answer is, know who you are. And then false ego is gone. Wait a minute, that was too quick. How do you get rid of that guy? That nemesis, false ego. And it's all of its accompaniments, pride, lust, anger, greed, Kam, Krodh, Lob, Moha, Mada, Matarja. How do you get rid of all those buddies that are the best friends of false ego? By bhakti. But bhakti, then what kind of bhakti? Then you start going with it. And bhakti that's very sincerely performed with meaningfulness. And we do the vidhis of bhakti, but the heart is not so fully connected with the vidhi. We're doing the vidhis. That's good. That's more than good. It's transcendental. But it's slow. To dissolve the false ego, there has to be an awakening of another desire. I want to know who I am. I want the real deal, please. Are you sure? And then Krishna will examine. Are you sure? You've heard me describe this, right? Here's a Prabhupada story, and I think I'm gonna close because of the time. The scene is Henry Street Temple in Brooklyn. Hot summer, July. Prabhupada's on the Vyasa-san, seated there. I'm down below, as close as I could get, looking up. And Prabhupada is describing your question. And Krishna may examine, a little bit like this discussion where Krishna is examining Brahma, what Brahma is saying. So Krishna may say, oh, you want to become my devotee? You want to dedicate yourself to me? Are you sure? And then Prabhupada would say, he said, what about a little hardship? And the devotee says, Krishna, you can do with me whatever you like. Please engage me in your service. Maybe he does want me. What about a little sense gratification? And Prabhupada looked away, said, no, I only want you. And then Krishna may say, oh, he does want me. All right, I'll give myself to him. Like that. So it's like that was quick, but our life of devotion is a series of experiences where what's inside may be in front of us. Krishna is giving us, reciprocating with the desire of that's not pure, by giving us stuff or obstacles, hardships. And then what? So the false ego is dissipated when there's only one thing. And then false ego doesn't act anymore. It dissolves. So then the true sense of self was that. Krishna, I am yours. Do with me whatever you like. That's not false ego statement. No, Krishna may test. And then we may go this, like a boat at sea. The waves tilt the boat this way, the waves tilt the boat that way. You get seasick. Even in turbulent conditions. That's the test. And then true ego emerges and false ego dissipates. And that becomes your life. That's the eligibility. So hearing of messages, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, it's in the verses, hearing Tanavan Madovir, dedicating one's life to these messages because the messages carry one to that place. Is it possible? It's not a false promise. It's more than possible. It's the gift that's being given to us. Then we can say yes, but not really say yes. Kind of with a smile, yes. You get an A in my Bhakti Shastri exam. But, it's more than that. I'm going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanandi Haribol.